welcome to another episode of Pause for Payments. I'm Kristy Duncan, and I'm really excited to have with me today Lynn Bonner, who is Enterprise Agile Transformation Lead at US Bank Elavon. Lynn is a seasoned expert on effecting transformations within large organizations and is based in Atlanta. Welcome, Lynn.
Thank you. So happy to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. Today, we're going to talk about Lynn's leadership views on diversity from the perspective of gender, but also through the lens of racial diversity. So let's get started. Lynn, can we start by talking about why the topic of diversity in the context of women in payments is so important?
Absolutely. It's important because in this day and age, if you talk about everything that has been happening over the last few years, women have already been in the workforce. They've been, really sitting in that doer management level. But there are so many other skills that women can bring to the table in terms of leadership and the ability to connect with teams. So when you talk about people being your most important asset in a business, you really want to be able to support and guide and be empathetic to, right? So take a moment to try and sit in their shoes to understand where they are. And so when you look at the statistics that have come about over the last year or so, you very quickly notice that there are now numbers backing up the fact that women-led initiatives and women-led businesses are standing out, because now you have higher employee engagement. Now you have more of setting these targets and really smashing them, right? You're seeing it in numbers. And I'm a big fan of metrics. It shows me what I need to see versus me assuming or guessing. And so really women in that payment space is key as we start talking about the innovation and the people and the next steps in that space is already here, right? We're looking at AI and all of the Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. I mean, having women be in the forefront of that is really key because it's a different mindset and definitely a different approach.
That's so fantastic. I love the empathy and the employee engagement and the innovation, things that women are really good at, and collaboration. And when you talk about leading teams that you do so much, it's so important to have that as a key factor. So let's talk a little bit about how can businesses find and support and nurture their in-house diverse pipeline. There's so much about the pipeline. We want to keep filling the pipeline with this amazing talent.
Yes. It's an interesting topic for me because I find that some businesses don't even realize that they already have in-house a ton of talent. They've got all of these skill sets that they've put into these worker bee roles. And it's like, you do a fantastic job right here, so I'm going to leave you right here. It's like, but do they want to be there forever and ever, right? So it's really kind of take a moment and provide those experiences, exposure, and really opportunities for them to take those same set of skills that they've been honing over the years and use it in a very different way, right? If you want to talk about creativity and innovation, it comes from being able to use something that you're really good at in a different way. And that really opens up so many opportunities within a business. So looking at who you already have in-house, taking a moment to do assessments around what skills are available, and then really pulling that into your view of what do we want to do as a company? What do we want to do as a business? And start really looking at how do you build out the skill sets that you need to accomplish that? Because sometimes it's already in-house, usually it's in-house, but you can also bring in trainers and consultants that can help to build and upskill all of those very loyal employees that you have and help them also expand those skills and views into everything else that you do. They already know your world, right? They don't have to come in and learn your world. So it's really a shortcut to being able to accomplish so much within a business in a short amount of time.
Yeah, and that employee development is really an investment in those people, and it's an investment in the company's future because they get committed, knowledgeable employees who then build skills to get up to that next level. It's fantastic. So
naturally
win-win.
train everyone else, right? So now that they've learned and they have exposure to something else, they turn around and help others. And that is also another stat that they've been talking about over the last 5 years. That one isn't really new, around how when women learn, they turn around and teach others. And how when women are, they have a dollar, they'll turn around and give some cents to the community. Like it's just a built-in thing that numbers are starting to really point to. And if you think about using that within your organization, in this case, in the world of payments and, financial services, fintech, it's really key because we're talking about dollars and cents, but we're also talking about how do you make sure that that continuously grows and is used across your business, across the employees that you have's lives, their communities, and really spreading that beyond just the borders of your business.
That's so fantastic. I want to talk about your leadership at US Bank and Elavon. You've clearly risen to leadership levels, which is so fantastic. And you've got this great attitude and enthusiasm and leadership skills. Can you share with our audience your insights as to how women, as well as people of color, can work to stand out, to seek support, and to prepare themselves for leadership opportunities?
Absolutely. So there's a few, I'll start with the easy ones first. It is more around getting a network of support, right? That's the easiest one. And when I say it's easy, it's because it's first of mind, but it's not always easy doesn't necessarily mean simple, right? To be able to connect to people that are going to be your mentors and your sponsors and those that will speak for you in rooms that you're not in, right? So you really want to expand that first. Be sure that those people know who you are, what you bring to the table, and that you are already in a collaborative, supportive position to help them as well, right? Because it's not about one person, it's about how many of us all of us can help each other. Each one of us has different skill sets and different things that we bring to the table. And so it's really key to know that and to share that. That's kind of number one. The second one is to take a moment and think about your skill set as it stands right now. And then think about where you want to go. Because there's going to be some things that as you talk about, your conversations with your mentors and your sponsor and those who are speaking on your behalf, there are things that they see that you need to be asking questions about. Here's what I know today. Can you help me figure out what it looks like at that level so that I can figure out where my gaps are? Right? This is a gap assessment, your own gap assessment. Instead of waiting for someone to tell you, you're really good at this and not so great at that, take that first initiative and say, here's where I know I am. Here's where it sounds like I'm missing because you don't really know what you don't know yet, right? If you're not in that position, you don't know. And so really bridging those gaps and working on your own professional development. And that is not just technical skills. That's the soft skills are where it matters the most because you're talking about people, right? At the doer level, you're talking about technical competency and you've built years on that. But when you start talking about leadership, now it's moving those skill sets into how do I connect with others? How do I build energy? How do I help someone go from being, very depressed and unhappy to being more engaged in what they do to, the next level of energy, because it's ultimately energy. That those types of things are very different in the leadership space. And you have to be able to do that analysis of you, that true, honest, okay, deep dive into you, because you can rest assured that others are watching as well. So you may as well be aware of it and use those opportunities to learn and grow.
I love that. It's all about taking charge of your career by, getting your network of support, by doing your strengths and weaknesses analysis, figuring out what am I good at, what do I need to work on, where can I develop, and then starting to build those leadership skills over and above the technical ability just to straight deliver.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's so important, taking charge of our own career development. And I remember so clearly way back when I worked at a big bank and I thought if I do a really good job in the corner where I was working, that someday someone will notice and someone will give me a promotion.
You've got to go move. You've got to see where those opportunities are and jump right into them and volunteer yourself, right? I'm ready, right? Or I'd like to try. You've got to be able to really take the initiative and be driven in the way that don't see it as, well, what happens if I mess up? You're not messing up. You're not failing. You're learning, right? And that's where you come back to that network and circle that is supporting you and that is trying to kind of help you learn and grow. And then your sponsors, your mentors, those that truly care about you, are also going to give you a little bit of air cover while you learn, right? Because they know that they're positioning you in something that you haven't done before. And so it's about the learning opportunity and more or less getting out of your own way. Get out of your own way and really step into that new place and learn as fast as you can. Learn.
Yeah, that's so great. And your point about getting out of your own way is so true. And so many of us put barriers, false barriers in our own path. It's not self-serving, that's for sure.
It is not. It's another piece of that diversity and inclusion space that we really need to take more time and delve into, because not everyone is even exposed to certain things. So you don't even know that it's a gap. You may not even recognize that you have set up a limiting belief for yourself. You may not even recognize that you've, installed your own barrier and you're the only ones thinking that you can't do the next thing, when someone else is like, we haven't even thought about it because you haven't even mentioned it, right? It's not that they've limited you, it's that you've limited yourself. And so really just all about that leadership and that gap analysis and that honest assessment of you, and having people that are okay with being honest with you, but then at the same time, you have to be okay with them being honest with you, right? Because some get that wall up. So you've got to be able to balance all of that in a mature and leadership style, for the next level.
Yeah, so true. So true. Very wise words, Lynn. So we know we've got these gaps. We've got gender gaps at leadership levels. We've got racial diversity gaps at leadership levels. We've got so many strands of diversity, I can't even count them anymore. What happens if we don't address these gaps?
If we don't address these gaps, there's a few things that will happen. I'll start with the most recent. If you think about the cancel culture that happens now, your customers and those that are engaging with the businesses are paying very close attention to who's sitting in these leadership positions. They're looking at your board. They're looking at your leadership. It is easy to get this information. You can go to LinkedIn and type in, the name of the company and look and see the pictures and the names that show up. And in this day and age, people are very much aware and they are conscious and they are very smart. And there are so many opportunities that they can very easily decide that since your business and your organization is not interested in diversity and is not interested in supporting more women, they can simply take that business somewhere else, right? So right out of the gate, your revenue and your profitability gets tapped very quickly because social media has helped the speed of information, helped or hurt depending on your perspective. So that's one. I think cancel culture is definitely key. The second one is the most important to me, which is basically you're missing out on talent and information and a lot of intelligence that you could be using to support your customers, because your customers are diverse. So you want to be able to support a multitude of people and to ensure that the people that are already in your organization, happy to be there, loyal to you, right? They're happy to be a part of your organization. They have skill sets. They have things that they can be bringing to the table that they would love to be able to share, that they're not even getting the opportunity to do so because there's an assumption that you're at that level and you don't know, right? And we're not using that in a way. And when I say using, it's not, you're not bringing it to the table to be able to see such a much larger landscape for all of your customers. So at the end of the day, not only is the business missing an opportunity, but so are your customers, right? And it only takes once. You do something once and it's like, wait, did you really just, right? And now you've lost a whole nother subset of customers, and then add on the cancel culture. And so you see these companies spiraling very quickly because they just don't have that insight, someone who has that perspective, who has that experience in life, because that's really what they're bringing to the table, coupled with that technical competency, coupled with the leadership capabilities and the ability to speak. Because that's the other thing, having them at the table, but not having the openness to speak is also key. So just saying, yep, we have some people of color and more women at the table is step one. Allowing them to speak is key, right? You now have to listen to what is coming out of their mouths and the information that they're sharing and be more collaborative and open and teamwork, all the things that we would want our team members to do. Leadership has to be able to do times 10.
No, absolutely. Giving them the voice. I mean, not just ticking the box and say we got them at the table, but giving them the voice is absolutely key. Absolutely. And I think a lot of that kind of points to this new concept of psychological safety, right? So yeah, they may have invited me to the table, but if I'm not comfortable enough to speak, or if they're not inviting me to speak, then I won't speak. You know, they've ticked the box, but they need to go that extra step to actually ensure that my input is being heard in a, you know, fair and equitable manner. And you're right, that absolutely trickles down to the employees, the employee engagement, the morale, but also the customers. And the customers, they talk with their feet.
Yes, they have the most power. I think it was Sam Walton along many years ago now, because he's gone, said that the customer is the boss and that they can fire everyone. Right? I mean, that's as simple as you can put it. If we can't figure out how to make sure that our customers are not only happy with our products, but happy with the way in which we deliver those products, the way in which we interact with them around those products and services, then we're in trouble. And the fact that customers are now very much aware and conscious of what's happening, they are essentially voting with their dollars. And there's just way too much competition. There's a ton of, one version is no longer really the case, especially in payment services. We can go anywhere, right? So we have to be able to stand out and say, here's the number one place you want to be, not only for the products and the services, but for what we represent, how we show up, how we have insight from our internal teams, right, of diverse people of color and women all sitting at the table to give us this new insight so that we don't make really crazy mistakes that end up hurting our reputation in the environment, because that's key. You don't want to lose that reputation, the reputational hits, but you also want to be able to show up as a clear leader in these types of activities, right? Diversity and inclusion and belonging is key. Like that shouldn't be a new initiative. That really should be a built-in part of your business model. It should be a natural thing that you do, and removing as much bias from, removing as much bias from the hiring process and from the promotion process as possible. And there are actually tools out there. Interview.ai, I think is what it's called, is a really good tool for the hiring piece. So to be able to take away the bias that happens and really give people the opportunity to look at how do we hire and what questions do we need and what talent gap are we trying to fill, minus all of the other components, so that you don't have that bias in there, you have skill sets. And then later on at the end, you can choose, if there's some box you're trying to tick, then certainly you can do that at the end, but it removes it at the beginning so that you get a real tool, a real pool of who's out there, because you want to be able to use that talent in-house, because you have it. There's no lack of talent in the finance industry. There's just not a lack of talent. It's not using that talent in a way that makes sense. It's not even recognizing that you have the talent, because that's really step number one, getting away from the bias of where there isn't any available. So there's a ton. Just take a moment and look, and you'll see that this person is really good at this technical component. This person is really good at connecting with people. This person is really great at strategizing. Who knew that, this person was buried deep in the organization? So there's a lot of things.
Lots and lots of opportunity to improve, not only for our employees, but also for our customers and our other stakeholders, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So we've talked about what can go wrong if we don't address the gap. What happens when we do? What happens when we are able to address the lack of diversity in the pipeline, Lynn?
I think you're going to see, based on the statistics, the intention of when you fill that gap, when you take a moment and really think about it, when you do, you will find that you will have a higher number of employee engagement. That's number one. And employee engagement is key, because when people are happy, they are able to be way more productive, and they are going to bring their best ideas to work. You want that in a company of innovation and things constantly moving. So employee engagement is key. The second one is that you're going to see, because of that new energy that they're bringing to work, that innovation and the way they do their roles today is going to change, which is ultimately going to impact what gets delivered, how quickly those things are delivered, and the impact to your customers, right? Because you want raving, referring fans, right? Not just customers that are very transactional. You want them to really enjoy it. And you can see that type of work in the quality that your organization is delivering to its customers. Something else you'll see. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry, it makes so much sense. Employee satisfaction translates directly to customer satisfaction.
Mm-hmm. Unhappy, and then you're going to get unhappy, right? Because they're not going to like the services, they're not going to like the products, they're going to have high defects and bugs, you're going to have outages, you're going to have all of these things that ultimately come from unhappy people. They don't intentionally do so, right? It's not like they're going out, I'm going to create a bug today. That's not what they're doing. It's just they're tired, they're worn out, they don't have the energy, they're not getting support, they don't feel supported, because that's the other piece. You want to ensure that not only are you supporting it, but it's really, that goes back to kind of communication piece. I'm saying it, but are you understanding it, right? Or I think I'm showing it, but it really depends on how that person is perceiving it, because if they don't think you're supporting, then you're not supporting, right? It's all these little soft leadership skills that men certainly have it, but I think women do it naturally because of the way in which we are just, we experience it. We have kids and sisters and brothers, and we're taking care of so many people. We're in that nurturing place that it naturally shows up at work. And I think that's a good thing. I'm sure there's someone somewhere that's like, that shouldn't happen. And it's like, no, it should. It's people working with people. So if you don't care, then you're going to have people that believe you don't care because you don't, and then they will react accordingly. And truthfully, I actually truly care about my team, and I want them to be happy with what they do. And I think that shows in how we engage, how we interact, the things that we do. It's always on a what's next? How do we do better this time? And so it drives, it drives everything we do from that perspective.
That's so inspiring, Lynn. Thank you for sharing those thoughts. I'm learning a lot here. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
For the last question, I want to switch gears a little bit and talk a little bit about your career, because you've had this amazing career at US Bank Elavon. And I'm wondering if you could share with the audience what career advice that you would offer to the rising stars coming up through the ranks of this payments industry today, be they diverse, be they women, men, rising stars. What would you counsel them today?
There'd be a couple of things. I think the first one is be okay with taking a risk. It's okay. If it doesn't go exactly as intended, it is 100% okay, because now you've learned. And you have learned a new way to do something or a new way not to do something. So take that risk. I think some of us get stopped because we're scared to make a mistake, and there's just no such thing. It's you learned or you learned. It's okay. I think the second piece is really focusing and taking that time to build out the support system, right? Because we can very much get caught in the day-to-day work, and I do the same thing. I'm human too. I have to catch myself from getting so buried in the day-to-day work that I miss the opportunities to connect and to reach out to, to build relationships around, not just for a purpose. It's not like I'm going to build a relationship with you so you can be my sponsor. No, I'm building a relationship because I want to build a relationship, right? And so really taking that opportunity is really hard during the day. Try harder. I'll do the same. I think that is key, because your network is ultimately going to lead you down different paths and different things to do beyond the border of your team, right? You really want to think about everything that you do. And then I think the third one is really to take an honest view of your skills. Be okay with looking at where you are and where you want to go, and don't wing it. Do not wing your career, and don't wing your talent development, right? Your ability to do different things. If there's something that you want more skill set in, be willing to invest in yourself, because I think that's the other piece. Some are looking for the company they work with to always be the one to support training and things of that nature, which I think is important. Companies should definitely invest in upskilling and training their people. But there are times when there's something you feel like you need that they may not be in a position to pay for. Do it anyway, right? Take the time to upskill yourself so that you are always in the forefront of things that you need, but also that you can bring back to the table. Because again, you want to be the value add resource. You want to be the one that they realize, oops, we might have been slipping and sleeping on the fact that this person has these skill sets and we need them right now. So definitely take those opportunities. It's probably the thing.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, Lynn, this has been such an inspiring discussion. I love your advice to take risks and learn and build our support systems and do our honest skills inventory and investing in ourselves, because if we don't, then how can we expect others to do that?
Right.
And the network is so important. And I've always said that your network is one of your biggest career assets, both internally within the organization so you can get stuff done, but externally too. Like, find those other people that you can learn from and connect with, and call if you need to understand something better, or call if you're looking to hire somebody, or call if you're looking for another, new career opportunity. This network is really, really important.
Totally agree. You bring in so much information when you go beyond the borders, right? Because even if you're in that payment space, talking to someone that's in retail, it's still helpful, right? Because now you're getting a different insight into how they view things, which may not be exactly the same as you would, right? And so it's a constant learning. It's a constant connection, really. It's connecting, but networking feels scary for some of us.
Well, no, you seem to have done a really good job along the way. Lynn, this has been a fantastic discussion. I've learned so much about building diversity from the inside and how you at US Bank Elavon are changing the face of leadership to support and engage your employees, which in turn supports and engages your customers, which is fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts today. And I'm sure this is going to resonate with our audience today. So thank you, Lynn.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kristy. I enjoyed every moment of it. Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. So thank you to all of our audience for listening today. I will encourage you all to join us online for this and the many other Pause for Payments discussions that we hold with amazing women leaders from around the world, and Lynn is one of them. So thanks, everybody.